Again, first question, describing your late father, General Walton Walker, what kind of man was he?
Well, he was a dedicated professional soldier who spent his lifetime in the military service. He was born and raised in Texas, and he had a tradition for, because his two fathers were Confederate officers, he had a tradition of serving in the military, and he went to two military colleges when he grew up, Virginia Military Institute and West Point. But I would describe him basically as a dedicated pro in the business that he pursued for a career.
How would you describe him as a soldier then? You pretty much said he was professional, but how about as far as his time spent in the military?
In what respect? How would I describe him as a soldier? He mainly was a leader of combat soldiers and troops. His professional experience was all the way from platoon leader through World War I, battalion commander, in World War II, a division and a corps commander, and finally in Korea, an army commander. So he had staff jobs, but primarily he had been engaged in the business of commanding soldiers.
What effect did he have on you, sir, as you grew up as a young boy?
Well, he had a tremendous effect. I was an only son. I followed in his footsteps in attending both Virginia Military Institute and West Point. And so I think you can draw your conclusion from that, that I felt that his career was honorable, and that the profession that he pursued was the type of profession that I wanted to be a part of.
Sir, how were you informed of your father's death when he died tragically in that Jeep accident north of Seoul?
I was about to go into a mess hall up near Uijeongbu, and an officer came in and told me that the Corps commander was outside and that he wanted to see me, and I went outside, and he said my father had been in an accident, and he drove me to the medical hospital somewhere in the vicinity of Uijeongbu, and then they informed me that he had died on arrival at the hospital.
Did you really expect, sir, that your father would be honored like this here in Korea?
Oh, I thought sometime that because I know how the Korean people feel about my father and about his service over here, I felt that yes, he would be honored in this way. He has already been honored in this way. The Sheraton Walker Hill was a product of, when it was initially the Walker Hill Hotel, a product of the ROC government and the Republic of Korea corporations, I imagine, who sponsored that hotel. So he'd been already honored in some capacity previously.
Sir, how do you think your father would feel if he was still alive to see this monument that's going to be erected and unveiled soon for him?
Well, he's a very modest man. He was very self-effacing. He wasn't the type that would care for a very great deal of publicity for himself. I think in that respect, his model was General George C. Marshall, who he served for as an executive officer at one time. He wasn't very flamboyant. He didn't have two grenades strapped to his webbing on his pack and carried two pearl-handled or ivory-handled revolvers around on his hips. So he was a modest individual, and I think he would feel very flattered.
Sir, in your thoughts, what's your opinion of the efforts of Kim Yi-jin, the Korean man who happened to pass by the accident site and who now has pressed for years and years to have this monument erected?
Well, I think I and my whole family are deeply indebted to this gentleman. I had no idea until I was informed by General Aiken here in Korea of the efforts of this individual to erect and to help erect this monument to my father. But we're all deeply honored by his efforts, and I know to what extent he has gone to try and research it and to get something going to develop the monument.
So when you think back to the Korean conflict, what thoughts or memories enter your mind? Obviously, besides your father passing away here.
Well, I joined 8th Army in about August of 1950. And there are several things that are vivid in my mind. One, we were in a defensive position down in Pusan, near the Pusan, on the Naktong River, near Waiguan, and it was a very touch-and-go situation at that time. There were some units and some individuals that didn't know whether or not we would be able to stay in Korea or not, or be pushed off the peninsula. I remember the attack north through Seoul and on up to Pyongyang and to Anju and Sinanju, up on the about 17 miles from the Yalu River. I recall how cold it was that winter. I recall very vividly when the Chinese communists entered the war and how that changed the complexion of the entire war, to include the withdrawal back to the general area of where the DMZ is located today.
Sir, you mentioned the cold weather. You're a native Texan. What kind of effect did that have on our troops, being as cold as it was back then?
Yeah, well, I don't think it mattered whether you were a Texan or not. I think even somebody from Maine or from Alaska would have felt the depth of the cold that we suffered then. You have to remember that we weren't heavily supplied in those days. We'd started out in July or August, and we didn't have a lot of gear with us, particularly cold weather gear. Our uniform supplies had not really caught up with all of the troops. I recall the warming tents that we used to have, and in all, I would say that it slowed down the operation considerably because you had to fight frostbite in this severe cold weather, and I would certainly rather, if I had to engage in combat, which I hope I never have to do again, that it would be in a warm weather climate.
Sir, General William Livesey, a former Commander-in-Chief here of USFK, once was quoted as saying that war is not fun. Yet I've been out and about, and I know there's infantry soldiers or combat armed soldiers that are either gung-ho or motivated, what have you. They go around saying, you know, they hope the North or somebody starts something because then they can pop off a few rounds. You've been through war, sir. What do you say to those soldiers, our viewers out there, to convince them that war is not the way to go?
Well, I think that, you know, the whole reason that we're here is to deter war. And the reason we're in Western Europe is to deter war. And certainly all those youngsters that are so gung-ho and would like to pop off a few rounds, and they certainly haven't experienced war. General Sherman, I think, was the one that said war is hell. It is, and I think that I would like to talk to a few of those soldiers to remind them of what war is really like.
Sir, what about your mother? How did she manage having her husband, your father, and yourself both in the Korean conflict?
Well, I'm sure it must have been tough on my mother. My mother died a couple of years ago, but when both of us were over here, I'm sure it was very difficult for her. She, of course, 8th Army deployed from Japan to Korea. So she remained in Yokohama, Japan, where 8th Army headquarters had been. And to have us both over here, and I'm an only son, so she really didn't have anybody else to turn to, and I'm sure it was very difficult for her. In addition to my father's mother, and he was an only son, so his mother was back in Belton, Texas, and it was extremely hard on her.
I saw a newspaper article about that. Sir, I know you were born in West Point, but when did you decide that you're going to follow in your father's footsteps and go to West Point?
Oh, I think somewhere along the line as I was growing up, I just decided that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I'd seen my father's life. I felt it was a good life. I wanted to be a professional soldier. So I thought that by going to West Point that would give me the best opportunity to be a professional soldier.
Sir, have you ever wished that you could wear the Army green again as you are now and go back on active duty?
Well, I really feel like I'm almost on active duty. I run a military college in Virginia, Virginia Military Institute. I'm the superintendent or the president of that college. It commissions young men in the Army, Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines when they graduate. I wear the uniform every day there as the superintendent. So I really feel that I haven't left the Army. I get to see a lot of my contemporaries and a lot of old friends. And I'm doing the same thing that I've done all my life, is work with young men and try and train them and try and educate them and teach them.
Sir, how long has it been since you've been back here in the Republic, and how can you describe the changes you've seen in Korea?
It's been, I was over here in 1962, 1963, and I was telling somebody today that there was not a great deal of change between 1950 and 1962, 63, but there's been a dramatic change since that time up to the present. The growth, the economy, the readiness of the forces, the entire complexion of Korea has changed. And I haven't had a great opportunity to travel outside of Seoul, but I understand there's a tremendous reforestation that has taken place in the country. The road network is dramatically improved, and I just have to hand it to those that have been the leaders of this country in the past 25 years since I was here. It seems to me that they've done a marvelous job.
Sir, while you're back at VMI, do you pretty much try and keep up with what's happening in Korea, since you probably got a little part of you still here in Korea from your tours here in the Republic? Do you try to keep up with the news that pertains to Korea, or what's happening here?
Well, I don't have the advantages of AFKN, and I don't read Stars and Stripes back there, but there's a great deal in the periodicals in the country. New York Times keeps me well informed, Wall Street Journal, and the American public is very interested in what's going on over here. They're very interested in that there be a successful Olympic in 1988. They've read in the paper about the strikes that have gone on, and they're concerned about that in the United States. We're tremendously proud of what the Korean people have done with their economy and with how well they're doing in that area. We're certainly interested in the democratic process and the pursuit of that in Korea. But there's a great deal in the American papers about activities over here, and I think that you and the Korean people would be very happy to see the coverage that's devoted to that in our main periodicals.
Sir, what's your thoughts on U.S. troops still being stationed here in the Republic? Why, in your words, do you feel we should still be here?
Well, I think the principle is the same that I mentioned a little earlier, the one of deterrence. We're here to provide a shield, a bulwark, a buffer for the Korean people to proceed with the democratic process in this country, for them to build up their economy. I think that the Olympics is going to give them additional recognition, but our forces being here so long after the war, they've been withdrawn down considerably since my tour, even here before. We've taken an entire division out of Korea. I understand our supply and support units have been considerably reduced. We don't have nearly the presence that we had in the years that I served in Korea.
What do you think your chances here are, sir, of another communist attack? There hasn't been one since 1950. You've had a little insight being here during the Korean conflict, and you have a little insight on, communist way of thinking. What do you feel, sir, about another communist attack? Is it possible?
Well, I think a commander always has to look at the capabilities of the other side and try and figure out what his intentions might be and what he would be capable of doing. So General Minitry in his position and the Korean leaders in the armed forces must be prepared for that eventuality. And I think they would make a dreadful mistake, having observed their armed forces parade yesterday, and I was tremendously impressed with the performance and the physical condition and the spirit of the troops that I saw on the airfield yesterday. I think that the reinstitution of hostilities at this time are not remote, but I certainly think that the North Korean government would be assessing the capabilities down here, and they'd be reluctant to attack this well-ready Combined Forces Command.
Leading to my last question, sir, from what you've seen so far, do you feel the Combined Forces Command is ready to deter any communist aggression?
It looks like it to me, and I'll visit the 2nd Infantry Division tomorrow. But I've talked to a lot of Korean officers. I've, as I say again, observed the Korean Armed Forces Day Parade, and I was tremendously impressed with what has happened over here in the readiness, in the apparent readiness of their entire force. Their equipment looked first class, well maintained, well operated, and it was just a first class show.